Today's guest is a local sports writer who hails from the promised land of the Jason Spain era Minot State soccer teams, Grand Valley. Joining me now is Alex Eisen, the sports editor of the Minot Daily News. How are you guys keeping busy right now for a sports section?
Right now, doing a lot of we just finished up doing our senior feature stories on Minot State athletes. There might be a few more that come through, but haven't been able to reach out to them yet or get a hold of them. Other than that, we've been doing kind of what you've been doing, except with our conversation with us, kind of like a mini podcast for the paper, I'd say. We're going around asking questions to different coaches. We haven't really reached out to athletes yet, but if this keeps going on like the way it is, that might come down the line too. And then just this last week, we started doing this new kind of story thing called Teammate Tag that we did with Becca Cheddar and JC Jones, where I kind of ask them 4 questions, and then their teammate tries to guess their answers and kind of get their reaction. So kind of almost like the newlywed game.
Yeah, you're doing exactly like the newlywed game, yeah. So, I mean,
see if we can get some interesting answers.
You like leave it at 4 questions so it's not like infringed upon or anything like that. Kind of like my old music beds that I used to have on this that I don't do anymore because of YouTube cops and all that good stuff. When you're doing those stories with Remember When or a conversation with whoever, those people probably have a ton of experience in sports around here. What's been like the most interesting stories that you've gotten to hear so far with that series?
The Remember When series?
Sure, or like even the conversation, because you never know what guys and girls out here might say.
Sadly, we haven't got too many of the Remember Wins. I don't know if people just don't like to write anymore. I mean, we'd certainly take more, but we haven't got too many of those. They've mostly been all my stuff that I've been pulling off of my recorder. So if we get more of those, you call out to the public now if you want to write in stuff and send them to me.
I'll leave your plug in the show, okay? That's fine, buddy. But when you're thinking about like the seasons that have gone by right now, whether it's like the spring and the summer, obviously with the early Legion cancellation, I know they're trying to come back here. What were you kind of looking the most forward to?
I'd probably say just the baseball and softball seasons for both. Minot State had a really good team this year. I was excited to see what they could do. Minot High softball's really come on as late. And same with the baseball team, trying to bounce back after losing the state championship game, see what they could have done this year.
Every season that comes up when I'm getting like all these schedules, you know exactly how that feels like. I'm trying to think of like the very next step, like the next addition that we could do to expand what we're up to. And obviously you didn't expect to have to do the conversation with and the Remember Whens and stuff because all this just slammed everything shut. But did you have anything in mind that you were trying to roll out of the daily going into the season that was maybe just a new thing?
Well, it's usually just coverage as usual for in terms of spring sports. We always try to get out to the most important games we can get to and then do the sprinkle in the features whenever we have time. I really had to just think on my feet to get the other stuff in when sports were getting canceled. It was like, what are we going to fill the sports section with? That was probably more of a challenge than anything that we had coming up new that we want to do. Is kind of just do what we've been doing because it works.
Wanted to ask you about one of your columns because it did seem very personal to you. Was your soccer injury that you had as you kind of related it to seniors losing their seasons right now. Just tell us a little bit about that story and how it kind of did end up maybe being a little bit relatable to what's been going on for these athletes who have unfortunately lost maybe some of their memories that they could have had.
Yeah, kind of backtrack at the start of the story. I grew up playing soccer. It's my favorite sport. And then I played all throughout high school. I was a senior captain on my team. And then going in, we were playing a division rival at their place. We were losing pretty bad. It was 3-1 or something. It's been so long ago, I can't remember the exact details. But I just remember that we had to come back and get a win in that situation. And we go down there, and one of my teammates got a shot on goal. We needed one to tie. I just happened to be at the right place at the right time to put the rebound in. And I turned around. Obviously, I was losing my mind because I've never been in that situation before. So I'm just looking around, screaming and yelling, all happy. And this guy points up, like points in the air, and he wants to do a chest bump. So at the time, I didn't think anything of it. I went up for it. And then as soon as I came down, as soon as I landed on my leg, I dropped instantly. But no one really noticed because everyone was cheering so much. So I literally had to hobble all the way off to the bench and coach is looking at me like, what happened? And I was like, my foot, I have no feeling in my leg whatsoever. So
Pretty essential for a soccer player.
Yeah, I had no balance. I couldn't put any weight on it whatsoever. So I just sat on the bench. Some of my teammates started coming over there asking questions why I came out of the game so fast, but no one really saw what was going on. I was like, I can't play. So I'm sitting there, and then that goal sent the game into overtime. My team ends up winning 5-3 in overtime to make it. That win helped in seeding for playoffs or whatever. But I can't play. My teammates literally had to carry me off to the bus, and my leg was throbbing the whole bus ride home. It was a miserable experience. I'm doing everything I can because playoffs start probably 4 days away. So I'm getting iced up, trying to get taped up. And I went to the trainer's office before that state game, and she was like, "You can't really do much. I can tape it up for you, but I don't think it'll do much." I was like, "Just do whatever you can to try to fix it." I knew it was no use, so I went out there and practiced for the team. I tried to kick the ball during warm-ups. I couldn't kick the ball, and I was like, "Coach, I can't play." So he had to pull me in. I had to sit there and watch the playoff game from the sideline. Our team ended up losing.
That had to be just a gut-wrenching experience for you, but at least in the moment you did something heroic. I don't even want to get into the dumb ways that I've injured myself, but at least you made some great plays there for your team, man. So as you go from being a student-athlete to getting your experience in college right into now being the Minot Daily News sports editor and even a reporter before that, what's kind of made this area a unique one to be around sports?
I'd just say the community in general, everyone's really passionate about their sports around here, especially high school sports. I didn't get that probably in the Grand Rapids. My name was never in the paper where I'm from in the other area, where out here in Minot, we're covering from Class A, Class B to college, where almost if your kid's good enough and they're doing something, we're going to be out there getting their name in the paper, which is something I wish I had grown up, along those lines, and the community just backs other players, and just seeing the fan support at all the games we get to go to, it's pretty amazing.
Coming here as a reporter, then moving up to sports editor, what was kind of like the biggest jump from those two roles, man?
I'd say the leadership and kind of manning my team and kind of telling people what assignments are going to get covered. Garrick, when he was here, former sports editor, he kind of showed me the ropes before he took off to cover more prestigious sports. But he showed me a lot of the ropes and kind of told me and showed me which games we should be getting out to, which games we should be covering. So I learned a lot from him. But on the same part, the writing part's still the same. I still go out and cover games like I was doing as a sports reporter. Now I have a little bit more experience doing it, I'd say.
And you get even better, colorful phone calls and emails from time to time, or what?
I'd say we've got less since I've taken over. No offense to Garrick.
Okay.
But yeah, it's my job to handle more phone calls now, but I still got them as a sports reporter. People want to talk to the person that writes the story. So,
did it feel funny, like, being a part of a hiring process for the reporters under you then?
What are you trying to get at?
Like, just looking at people's clips, like, you're, like, the boss of the sports area and stuff like that. You want to, just having a hand in, like, hiring people?
Yeah, because that transition happened because I was only there for 2 years. Next thing I know, I have to fill my old spot, which was a little weird. And then I'm looking at clips, and luckily enough, we got Justin Martinez in here, who was really, really good. And I'm not surprised he wasn't here very long. It took him 9 months to get the clips he needed and get his better job, which is kind of what we're all about here.
Yeah, and he's down in, New Mexico now, and Garrick did Mizzou and Mississippi State right now. We had him one a little while back. One hallmark of Garrick, and he'll still hold it over to me to this day because he's buddies with Matt Merkin so much, is just the scoops that he can always follow around in Minot. He always thought he had the next best thing ahead of me all the time. And even when you guys were working together, I don't even think he really let you know much, did he? Was it tough to get anything out of him?
Little tidbits here and there, especially if there was something on my beat, he'd give me a heads up. But yeah, he's still doing that now. If he finds something, if he's talking to Merkin, he'll pass something still along to me.
What's kind of been? Can you divulge anything? I mean, it's kind of already something that has to have been published and that kind of took you by surprise when he said something even when he's moved on?
The one that stands out is like the NSIC caught in their down their games they're gonna be playing, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Pass that along.
Yeah, for sure. That was just out of nowhere because he was like, Ben Howland told me at Mississippi State, he's my source. I'm like, okay, whatever, buddy. Something that is, there's kind of two things to it when it comes to newspaper journalism is you got to have the clips to be a great writer, but then you have to have awesome photography to really captivate. How much kind of an impact is the pictures versus the writing, in your opinion?
Well, when I first got out here, I had no photography experience whatsoever. I kind of had to learn on the fly, and Garrick was really good at teaching me all that stuff. So I picked up on that. It probably took me a year and a half where I actually felt comfortable with a camera, and just a lot of it's time management too, because we have to write and take photos for the same game, same time. So you kind of have to take photos maybe in the first quarter, second quarter, and then get back to your computer so you're writing. So there's a little bit of balance there that you have to figure out as you go. And then as in the paper, obviously a catchy photo is going to get somebody to read the story. So you kind of have to make sure you get that good photo out of the way first and then focus on the story second.
And then in times like this, when you have to kind of fill things a little bit, I got to kick out of the one, like the top fold photo of the Mark Kennedy. I had to give the guys a little grief on that. That was awesome. So you kind of touched a little bit on what Justin Martinez was able to do here in Minot and move on quickly. He was kind of a new-blooded voice here around, I guess, what people were kind of used to hearing out of the newspaper, basically like coverage stuff. Columns haven't really, like, I don't know, maybe ruffled some feathers a time or two, but I remember one when he came out of like the Minot High football season, and he did an article like critiquing, I mean, where's the program really at? And I wasn't sure like how much of the community really like was receptive to that, but he had some fair points to it, but there was also some rebuttals, and you had a couple of like letters back to the editor. What did you kind of think of that story as it was coming together? You kind of have to see it a little bit, I think, before print, and then afterwards, do you expect everything to happen like that?
Yeah, to start off, as a sports editor, obviously I read that and I have to make sure it goes to print. So I read through it, and that's kind of Justin's. We kind of talked about doing something like that just because it's a down season. I knew there's going to be some backlash to it, but I was like, if you just state the facts and we get the quotes from the coach and we put everything together how it should be, none of that's our opinion. As much as people called me to say it was, and I'd had people call me and read back Barry Holman's quotes word for word and be like, why did you publish that in the paper? Like, well, that's what the coach said. I mean, what do you want us to do? But yeah, there was merit to it, and I get both sides of it. I understand why people are upset, but at the same token, it's still news that they had it down here. I get that they're high school kids, but people are going to look back and go, why did Minot High not make the playoffs this year after they made it for, 20 years in a row? And we had to tell that story. So
yeah, for sure. And people don't want to read your facts, man. They're looking for the fantastic rose-colored glasses lies. But, I mean,
not gonna get that here.
You're not going to be able to deliver for that reason. Couple of event coverage things. You guys are a little bit different where, in my position, we have different, like, sister station branches in our cluster, whether it's in Bismarck or Fargo, and then John Cole, the legend, out in Williston. So what makes it different is you guys kind of work together as papers, but I seen like you and Jimmy LaFakis, Justin Martinez when he was here. You do. I mean, I travel a lot for like my shows, but I'm not going to state football and wrestling out in Fargo and some of the other places even close to Bismarck that you guys go to if it's a relevant playoff run, at least to be there for an entire day and overnight and stuff. So just tell me, like, in your experience traveling, what's kind of been the best times with that?
Yeah, we do a lot of traveling here because we get the opportunity to do so. Best experience would have to be Minot State men's hockey down in Frisco, winning the national championship. I mean, that run is something I'll never forget. And just hanging out with a team I covered the men's team first for 5 days as they won all 5, and then covered the women's team for the next 4. So I was down there for 9 days straight. Just being able to see the behind-the-scenes stuff on what goes on off the ice, and then seeing them go out there and win a national title. Women coming so close. They if they weren't so tired for that last game, they'd probably win that game too. But just being around the team and that atmosphere and kind of getting this behind-the-scenes look was something I'll remember.
Yeah, I hear the hockey teams take care of everybody pretty good when they're on the trips, huh?
But a lot of pasta for the men, though. So if you're eating, you're getting a lot of pasta.
There you go. Everybody likes covering at least a winner. It makes it a little easier. Or if you can do something controversial with facts, I mean, that's pretty compelling too. Now, Alex, anybody can enjoy doing a trip like that down to Frisco, whether it's for the hockey or heck, even NDSU football. And you can be proud of, hey, here I am covering a championship. But to some length, and I'll admit it, I got a press pass to the Super Bowl. I got a press pass to the Final Four and all that stuff. And that's a great and fun experience. But at the same time, you can just sign up and go and do that. I'm just wondering what other stories that maybe weren't at like the summit of a season are you proud of doing, and what kind of events stand out besides just going to a championship?
I'd say it's kind of the little things, especially just going to a random practice here or there and just picking up tidbits of, like, I had no idea. Can't really think of any specific examples off the top of my head. Mm-hmm. But it's just finding those stories that you can't see on the surface, that you actually have to go and talk to people and dig up those things. That's what kind of I enjoy the most.
And obviously, I mean, I buy into what you guys do at the paper. I think people can respect like what I do and other outlets around here do. Just how long does it take really to kind of build up like that rapport so that people can buy into you being genuine, which you are, you know?
It takes a while. Like my first year here, it probably takes a full cycle through just to get to know everybody the first time. That way you can kind of build up those contacts. But then coaches, like we've seen this year, are changing all the time. So you kind of just always have to be there and reaching out to people and finding ways to interact with people. Like we couldn't do a lot of these conversation list stories if I haven't been here for so long and built up these contacts and people actually want to talk to us. Because people don't want to talk to us, they're not going to pick up the phone.
Mm-hmm. So when you come out to Minot, you're from Grand Valley State, the Lakers, with the Lanthorn student newspaper or whatever. That's a site where MSU soccer, if they had a great year, they could end up there for like a really meaningful postseason run. What did you make of Jason Spain when he was here, pretty much talking from the outset, we got to make it to Grand Valley, and then he probably shoots a stare at you, even though he doesn't know that you're like right from there. Taken aback at all?
That was pretty funny. I wanted to see it happen. Eventually, it just never did. If they would have ever met, it would have been probably the quarterfinals. Mm-hmm. And Minot State had some pretty good teams in Jason Spain's era, and I thought if there was a chance, I'd always text back home to my parents, like, there's a chance I could come home and actually cover a game at Grand Valley, because I could find a way to get plane tickets. I got free housing over there. I could stay with my parents. I could actually cover that. But it just never happened.
Yeah, so like you were like, thanks for nothing. I could have gotten a nice trip home, and you guys denied me of that opportunity, or what?
It could have happened, but they just could never get over that hump in the postseason. They had good players, and now they're kind of back into the rebuilding phase right now.
What was kind of your reaction at the infamous Jason Spain presser when he like slammed the table and the Coke went everywhere in front of Ninja Ramirez? Or I forget, were you in the room, or did you have to hear about that from Garrick? Okay.
I got a text straight after the press conference from Garrick, and he's like, I got some interesting audio, and you're never going to believe what just happened. And then I had to wait to see the YouTube video come out, probably because at that time, Minot State was putting all their press conferences up on YouTube. And that video got a lot of clicks pretty fast, and Minot State thought better of it and finally took it down.
Oh, man.
But I saw it.
That was, hey, I mean, it's a press conference, man. I don't know if they had to take it down, but I guess they did from whatever pressure they had.
Jason was just speaking his mind.
Yeah, I know. Why wouldn't that be a great thing for all of us to be able to do? So yeah, crazy moment. And going back to the promised land area of Grand Valley, at least for their team. Now, do you want to talk to about some notable Lakers, okay? Whether you may or may not know, okay? Going to Grand Valley State, how much do you idolize football players like Brandon Carr, Matt Judon, that gritty Dan Scuda from, I think he was like the Jaguars, and then they had Tony Ferguson from the UFC.
Yeah, those guys are icons over there.
Oh, yeah, really? Yeah, real famous.
Actually, Judon was during my era. He was a senior when I was a senior. So I didn't get to cover any of those stories. I wish I did because I wasn't the sports editor over there, but my sports editor had a field day covering
It seems
NFL
like
scouts coming up.
it seems like he has like a lot of personality. So like the Coca-Cola slamming incident, did you hear a lot about Judon from your sports editor?
Oh yeah, we heard a lot about Judon. There's some wild stories.
Oh yeah. Like what? Like
being around campus.
Stuff that can't be put into print or on the airwave or what?
Probably nothing I can confirm because I wasn't there firsthand.
Nothing that you can deny either, apparently. Yeah, I think Kevin Lee from the UFC also went to Grand Valley. He'll come after me, knowing that I didn't put him in the top 3 athletes there just now. But, oh well. Have you brought it up to your new reporter, Brandon Carr, at all about the famous Brandon Carr from your school?
I haven't, but it was a little weird in the hiring process seeing that name there.
You're like
especially because he's from Michigan as well.
His resume didn't have like 8 years of NFL experience or whatever.
I know, that's what I was looking for. It wasn't there.
Speaking of 8s, what's kind of your best chance if you're in the octagon, given the UFC pedigree that's coming out of Grand Valley, apparently?
Absolutely none. I'd get decked so fast it wouldn't be funny.
Gee, man, but you're all length, man. You got some kind of advantage, right?
No strength, though. I'm tall, but it wouldn't end pretty.
Soccer guy. Going back to Minot State, what's kind of standing out, I mean, besides just Frisco, as some big-time moments for you covering the Beavers?
Problem with that is I've only been covering them. Well, the women's team I've been covering all 4 years, and then I kind of took over Garrick's beat for 2 years. So going to Bemidji State was probably an interesting experience because it was just so dang cold. I went out there for the Minot State women's team was playing in the NCAA tournament that first round as a 7 seed against 2 seed Bemidji State. And then the following day, the Minot State football team was playing Bemidji State, and it was snowing and absolutely miserable out there. And Bemidji State didn't have much accommodations for the Minot Daily News sports editor coming out there. I had to fight my way into the press box for both games. And
sounds like a couple of ice rinks that we know about not taking care of the Daily.
Not getting into that.
Okay, sounds good. There's plenty of seats, and you don't want to lose out on every single one of them, do you?
No.
Exactly. So, another sport here, we're MSU. What's kind of your take on the trajectory of how Mike Aldridge is doing? First year here, a lot of players that weren't really his own, but they were decently competitive, and obviously having to build maybe a little more from the ground up even after that first season. What do you think about the Beavers' chances? Maybe as soon as this fall, hopefully we can get a normal season.
Season in because I think they're on the upswing. I mean, Aldridge just finally had the time to get the players in that he wants. He's in his third recruiting class, I believe. Mm-hmm. And plus he's bringing back some experienced guys, especially a quarterback with Ben Bolinski, on a high kid. So he's got pieces there. There's obvious pieces you got to replace, especially a kicker, losing Jose Luis Moreno. But I think they're building in the right direction. And I think getting 3 wins last year kind of shows that to the community that they can actually play with some of the teams, especially some of the games they lost. They're right to the end. So you kind of see them turning things around. Where
does that team really need to grow, though? Because, I mean, we hear the press clippings come from Ben Bolinski, and their great player happens to be a punter. So what has to be next for them, man?
It's got to be the defense. You got to build there because when I do my weekly kind of going through stats and my weekly preview for them, it's always when you get down to defense, it's like they're last in the league giving up points per game and yards per game. It's like you can't be giving up 500 yards a game and expecting to win or 35 points.
Yeah, I mean, like the only thing that I could really do to even try to help them out is just say, hey, got to give credit to my buddy like Bryce Broom, guys like that. I mean, the pass defense is so great, but I mean, they're not really throwing the ball because like the run defense has to get there, man. Talking about weekly look-aheads, what's kind of your go-to material to get those great quotes from the Minot State weekly press conferences?
I hardly use them, to be honest with you. I mean, if something interesting comes out of them, we'll do a little weekly wrap-up, but I figure you guys use most of that material, so we kind of have to look outside the box because we don't want quotes you guys put on TV to kind of end up in the paper too. It's kind of so you have to kind of look elsewhere.
Thing is, you do have a chance of like I always like save them for the Wednesday church night when there's like no high school going on. So there's that for you anyway. So
yeah, we still use them off and on now again, but sometimes it's not worth it to us. We're better off showing up at a practice and get something a little bit more unique and digging out stories that way.
Talk about a little about your improvisational skills, because I'm pretty sure that's like the material that most of us have going into those. Just okay, here's the trend, and I came up with a question like 5 minutes ago.
Sometimes it's not even 5 minutes for me. I'm just doing it while they're talking and try to pick out something interesting that they say and just go off what they say to get a little bit more information, especially when it comes to football. Because Aldridge he can wind on a little bit and then it's kind of just picking out those small segments that he says and trying to dig a little bit deeper and stick in some of those cliches. I figure that's the best way to get them out. Merkin as well.
Yeah, I love how Merkin embraces the cliche, and we can at least be honest with them about how we can save stuff from 4 years ago, and it still applies. All you have to do is edit out the name Tyler Rudolph, and it would probably work, right?
Yeah, except for us, that doesn't work for me, because we're putting the same cliches over and over again. People keep reading them, and it gets a little boring. So it's my job to kind of dig a little deeper.
It is easier, though, to copy and paste when it comes to a paper anyway. What was kind of all the interviews that you had, I remember even Alex Eisen's Tales of the Tape are showing up, and you have thousands of files of it. Who's kind of been the best interview that you've had around here on a consistent basis? Like, obviously, Jason Spain is probably the freaking moment.
That's what I was going to say.
Just week in and week out, it was always Spainer, nobody else. Spainer or nothing.
He wasn't afraid to speak his mind, and as a reporter, I like that from people. Sometimes it got him into hot water, but he handled it the best he could, and that's all I could ask for.
Yeah, and all we have left to do now that he's gone to Green Bay to pursue his D1 coaching dream is to, I guess, talk to Larry McFall just a little bit more, huh?
Yeah, Larry's interesting. He'll give you some good stuff.
Oh, I think so. There was a reason why he was the premiere of this show, and he went for like an hour 40, of course. You just let him go, man. It's awesome. Speaking of hockey, guys, big Red Wings fan, I'm guessing, being from the Michigan area?
Yeah. Down here now, but yeah, before I got my job at the Lanthorn at Grand Valley, I was writing bi-weekly blogs on the Red Wings. I covered just throwing them up online. That's kind of how I got started.
How much do you miss like the 90s and the early 2000s Red Wings? I know like they had one more run in 08 and then 09 they made at least a final, but when you talk about some legends, man, those teams were stacked back in the day.
Yeah, Steve Yzerman was probably one of my idols growing up, but I don't remember too much of the 90s run. I was just a little kid back then, but I remember fondly the 2008 championship, which is probably, now I think it was probably the last championship of all the teams I root for. It would be the 2008 Red Wings championship. It's been a pretty sad Detroit sports time right now.
There's, yeah, I mean, at least you can own it. I mean, I know a couple people that like they can only handle rooting for one Detroit team, and they have to move on elsewhere and stuff. But
it's hard to watch now.
Yeah, exactly. So you got a good ticket price out of it, hopefully, when you can get back home, Alex. And something that the Red Wings kind of do super well is some of these guys that they draft so late, like Pavel Datsyuk and Henrik Zetterberg, people like that. I know they've had some marquee guys before the salary cap era that they brought in as signings, but man, the calling card of some of their best players as of late has been just that draft. And is there any kind of comparison between maybe finding those diamonds in the rough that maybe Minot State really needs to have that kind of effort on their recruiting trail to maybe turn things around?
Yeah, I'd say so. I don't know, it's an interesting thing to think about. It's kind of hard to do it the NHL nowadays just because there's so much technology and scouts are really good at what they do. So, but once you get down to like the D2 level, yeah, I think it becomes more interesting in that aspect of just undercovering talent, trying to bring people in that aren't going to D1 schools and that are willing to come up here to Minot.
If you had to pick one job, like obviously like a lot of sports observation going on to be a sports editor of the Minot Daily News, where else would you want to work in sports?
Always, I don't know. It's an interesting question too. I kind of wanted to be a sports information guy there for a while, kind of follow Mike Lindell a little bit, but that's still up in the air. Otherwise, I'd love to be kind of like a beat reporter for a soccer team or a hockey team somewhere. Just kind of doing their PR work. I feel like I'm a good enough writer to do that. But otherwise, I wouldn't mind moving up to a higher paper maybe, but I'm kind of content where I am right here for the Minot Daily News. I've been here almost 4 years now.
I really appreciate it too. I just had my 5-year anniversary at KMOT and just appreciate the leadership that people can they can see if you can do a good job. They'll trust you with a lot of ability to decide what your big coverage footprint could be, and I bet you appreciate that freedom, and so do I.
Yeah, I got pretty much free reign over the sports section now that I've been here so long, so I can pretty much decide what we're covering night in and night out. I don't have much say from any of people above me, so I'm doing my thing.
Yeah, exactly, and doing our thing has definitely been different, at least for the time being. I'll tell you what, I haven't seen Mike Ellman forever. I haven't really seen you sports guys because we're all doing way different stuff. There's no games going on, but just can't wait until that time comes back. And till then, Alex, man, let's keep in touch, dude, and we'll see you next time. Appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate it, Ben. Thanks for having me on.